Welcome back to the 7 Sportscave. I want to introduce our third guest tonight, Will Birchfield's Man Bun. It's in the building tonight.
This is it right here.
I actually did I not see a tweet that Chase Winovich, who has nice flowing locks for the Michigan Wolverines, give you a little shout?
Yeah, I asked him last night if they were unprepared defensively, and before I could say that, he said, "Hey, nice hair, man." Then I was like, "Actually, you guys were really prepared defensively." I take that back. You guys looked awesome the whole night. Yeah.
Let me take all of the negative things I was about to tell you.
You guys won tonight, right? You guys looked awesome. Yeah, that was a great performance.
Michigan State played Utah State on Friday night. 38-31, went down to basically the last 5 minutes. Brian Lewerke had to work some magic to bring them back. Thoughts just initially?
I mean, it's not what you want to see against a team like Utah State, but I will say my alarm factor with Michigan State is so much lower than Michigan, and not just because they won the game, but because we've seen this before. Right? I mean, Michigan State started slow before. Mark D'Antoni is an incredible coach, gets those guys going. I think I would expect to see something very similar, I think, from Michigan State.
Yeah.
And not to justify not beating Utah State by more than 7 points, but they looked like a pretty darn good team. They might surprise some teams in the Mountain West Conference. They can move the ball up and down the field, high pace. And I don't think Michigan State was prepared for an up-tempo offense, but they were surprised. Yeah, they were surprisingly good.
They were very. Well, here's the thing, and I've said this on this show for years, guys, years. Experience in college football is better than raw talent. Give me an experienced team over a bunch of 4- or 5-star kids that have never played the college game before, and I'll pick the experienced team. 18 returning starters for the Aggies. Michigan State has 19 returning starters. So we're talking about two teams that know what they're doing, and I thought that we saw that with Utah State. I don't think that at any point in that game, even when Michigan State was down by a point, was I significantly worried the way that I was worried when Michigan went down. Now, granted, I'm not trying to compare Michigan and Michigan State, but at the same point, I felt like Michigan State was going to always come back and win that game. It's how it looked to me. Let's start with Brian Lewerke's play. I think he made two really awful plays when he threw the fumble away, which should have been potentially a grounding, incomplete pass. Then the pick six. That's inexcusable for a guy that's supposed to be, the leader of that offense. Yeah, I mean, he's a dark horse Heisman candidate, right? We've been hearing it all offseason, and he showed flashes of that, and he showed it last year too. He can run, he can pass. Shea Patterson really at Michigan State. They're really similar quarterbacks. Again, he has the weapons on the outside that Shea doesn't have. Davis made a couple of great plays on Friday night, and they have talent there that makes his talent shine, and that bodes well for him the whole season. Michigan State's defense as well needs to get a little bit of a tip of the cap because they only allowed 25 rushing yards on the night and made them very one-dimensional. Now, that made some glaring weaknesses kind of known for what Arizona State could potentially do to Michigan State. Short, intermediate crossing routes, some of those quick out passes and whatnot. Defensively, though, Will, what did you like most about Michigan State? I mean, you love that secondary. Even without Scott in there, there's so much talent. They can take away the passing game. Now, Love made them look like they had some holes on Friday, but there's talent there that they can contain passing attacks pretty well. But across the board, the Big Ten can breathe a big sigh of relief when Penn State almost gets knocked off by Appalachian State and Michigan State almost gets knocked off by Utah State. So there was a big sigh of relief, I think, across the conference in the Big Ten East, especially on this weekend. You don't want your big heavy hitters to all go down, and all of a sudden the strongest conference division in the country is all of a sudden 1-3, with Ohio State beating the crap out of whoever that they played, Oregon State or whatever it was. Last thing I have for Michigan State with you guys is as you see them go out west next week, did you see that Arizona State put up 49 points? Now, granted, they played Texas, San Antonio Academy of and those West Coast teams love to pile up points on opening weekends. Are you circling that game a little bit more, Herm Edwards, coming from the NFL back to the college game? I mean, I'm wondering, are you guys getting maybe a little nervous about that game? I don't know if nervous, but intrigued. I mean, it's 7.5 favorites. That's it's a 10:30 start time, right? Which is you would think, might mess with the internal clock of the Michigan State players. It's going to be a raucous crowd out there. Arizona State, awesome time, I've heard. So they're going to those fans will be jumping for sure. I still like State, but it's going to be a big test, bigger than Arizona State might seem on the surface.
Yeah, I'm not sold on Herm Edwards. I think of Herm Edwards like I think of John Gruden, I think these guys who hacked it back in the day, but I think the game has kind of passed them by a little bit. I'm pretty circumspect on Herm Edwards, but obviously going west, playing in prime time in front of a raucous crowd, obviously is a challenge.
The Brian Lewerke homecoming of sorts. He's from the state of Arizona, so maybe, just maybe, he can have one of those nights that puts him a little bit closer to that dark horse Heisman conversation. A little bit more. We'll see.
Love it.
We'll see if they can do that. All right, guys, thanks so much for the college talk. Coming up next, though, we got to talk about the NFL. I'd like to say that the Lions play a week from tonight or today, but they don't. They play a week in a day.
They might
on Monday Night Football. We will talk about what's going on with the Detroit Lions as they have 8 more days until they hit the field where it actually counts. It's coming up next on the 7 Sports Game. Stay with us.